Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a group of plants that you see literally every day, but you might not really know. They're ancient, they're essential, and their story is woven into our modern world in some pretty amazing ways.
So, let me start with a quick question for you. Think about the wooden desk you might be using, or the paper in your printer, maybe even some of the most powerful drugs we use to fight cancer. What in the world could possibly connect all of these things? The answer is, well, it's pretty cool.
Yep, that's it. The common thread is this huge, ancient group of plants called gymnosperms. They are kind of the silent giants of our world, and they shape everything from the industries we rely on to our own health. So, what exactly are they?
Okay, first things first. What actually makes a plant a gymnosperm? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but totally fundamental difference in how they make their seeds.
The name itself, which was first used way back by the ancient Greek scholar Theophrastus, gives us the biggest clue. It comes from the Greek words gymnos, which means naked, and sperma, which means seed. So a gymnosperm is literally a naked seed plant. Their seeds aren't tucked away inside a protective ovary, what we'd usually call a fruit.
And this is really the key difference between gymnosperms and the flowering plants we're all familiar with, the angiosperms. So think about an apple. The seeds are safe and sound inside the fruit, right? But with a gymnosperm, like a pine tree, it's a totally different story. The seeds are just out there, exposed, sitting right on the scales of a cone. That one simple distinction, the naked seed, is what separates these two massive plant groups. All right, so they're unique biologically, but here's where it gets really wild. Gymnosperms are an absolute powerhouse in the global economy. I mean, their impact on our daily lives is just staggering, and in ways you probably don't even think about. These plants are absolutely central to so many global industries. They make up some of the biggest forests on the entire planet, and they're our number one source for things like timber, lumber, and all the wood pulp we use to make paper. Basically, they provide the raw materials that build and inform our entire world. And the list of products we get from them is just incredible. Of course, you've got timber and paper from trees like pine and cedar. Then there are resins, which give us turpentine and varnish, tapped right from conifers. We get those amazing smelling essential oils from spruce and cedar. We even get food like pine nuts, and this is a big one, critically important life-saving medicines. And this is so much more than just building materials. Let's talk about medicine for a second. Taxol, which is a vital anti-cancer drug, comes directly from the bark of the yew tree, a gymnosperm. Just that one example shows you their immense and often hidden value to our health. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so we know what they are and we know why they're so important. But if you were actually out in the wild, what would you even look for? Let's run through a quick checklist of their defining features. All right, here's your cheat sheet for spotting a gymnosperm. First, they're almost always woody trees or shrubs, and you'll notice they stay green all year round. They're evergreen. Second, they have a really deep, strong taproot that anchors them down. Third, and this is our key takeaway, their seeds are naked, they're exposed. And finally, a cool internal difference. Their wood is made of simpler cells called tracheids. Think of it as a more old-school plumbing system compared to what's in most flowering plants. Now, to make all this theory a bit more real, let's zoom in on one super fascinating and ancient example, the cycas plant. People often call it a living fossil, and it's a perfect showcase of these classic gymnosperm traits. Just look at this thing. It's got this thick, column-like trunk, usually no branches, and it's topped with this gorgeous crown of big, feathery leaves. It kind of looks like a palm tree, but it's a true gymnosperm, with a family tree that goes back millions and millions of years. Now here is a really interesting fact about the cycas. It's dioecious. That's a fancy-sounding word, but all it means is that you've got boy plants and girl plants. Any single plant is either male or female, not both. And that sets the stage for some very different-looking parts. And you can see that difference so clearly right here. Over on the left, that's the male plant, and it produces this big, compact cone. But then, look at the female plant on the right. Whoa, totally different, right? Instead of a tight cone, it has this looser thing called a strobilus, which is really just a bunch of special leaves. And right on those leaves, you can see those large exposed ovules, the very definition of a naked seed.
So, as we start to wrap this up, let's just pull back for a second and appreciate the incredible history and diversity of this group. They aren't just important for our economy, they're like a window into our planet's deep, deep past.
Now, don't worry about reading every single name on this chart. The whole point here is to just visually get a sense of the sheer scale and complexity of the gymnosperm family tree. From the cycads we just looked at to ginkgos, all the way to that massive group of conifers that includes our pines and firs, we're talking about a group with some seriously deep and diverse evolutionary roots. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Gymnosperms were here long before the dinosaurs, long before flowering plants took over the world. They have survived mass extinctions, crazy climate shifts, you name it. So as we face our own changing world, you have to wonder, what lessons in survival and resilience can we learn from these ancient champions?